I mention my ex, flirt with others, compare you to someone else. That's triangulation. It makes you jealous, desperate, and willing to do anything for my attention. Here's how I keep you off balance. I watched your face from across the expensive, dimly lit restaurant table. The lighting was meticulously low, perfect for the intimate drama I was about to stage, the perfect setting for whispers and secrets. You were talking animatedly about your new project, something involving complex, technical work, an intellectual pursuit that honestly sounded tedious and predictable to my ears, but I wasn't really listening to the specific words, only the underlying tone of self-satisfaction. I was meticulously watching your eyes, constantly searching for that slightest sign of settled ease, of deep internal contentment, of detachment from my immediate presence. You looked too settled, too comfortable in your own skin, and too proud of your own success. It immediately became a massive problem for me. My stomach tightened instantly with a familiar, cold, empty feeling, the dread that instantly surges when I fear I am not, unequivocally, the center of the universe. When you're comfortable, truly comfortable, you are not focused exclusively on me, which means I am vulnerable. That feeling, that crippling sense of becoming utterly irrelevant, of becoming just another predictable detail in your expansive, well-managed life, that's precisely when the high-stakes manipulation and frantic maintenance work absolutely must begin. I cannot, under any circumstances, be relegated to the status of background noise. I allowed you to finish your entire thought, letting the final word hang in the air for a deliberate, uncomfortable pause, before giving you a slow, deliberately measured, slightly bored nod, as if you just recited a statistic I had already memorized years ago. Then, and only then, I offered a smile. That specific, precise, perfectly calibrated smile, the one that makes people instinctively lean in, their brow furrowing in confusion, immediately questioning their own interpretation of it. Was it genuinely complimentary? Was it hiding a deep, buried skepticism? Was it holding back a much better thought? That's truly interesting, an admirable focus you have there, I said, picking up my wine glass and letting my eyes drift vaguely toward the antique chandelier, as if recalling a far superior, more sophisticated, more glamorous memory from a lifetime ago. It reminds me a lot of something Christopher used to do. You know, the one with the private jet access. Do you remember Christopher? I've certainly told you about him. He was the one who was always traveling internationally for his high-level, secretive work. Zurich one week for a hostile takeover, Singapore the next for some classified acquisition. Remember? A total whirlwind of a person, completely captivating, always in motion. He actually tried to teach me about investing once, how to handle those incredibly complex, high-risk derivatives at this little sun-drenched sidewalk cafe in Lisbon, right before we shared an intimate moment impulsively on the beach later that evening under a stunning full moon. He had that exact same kind of intense, almost pathological, tunnel vision focus you exhibit when he talked about money and global success. I truly loved that brilliant, chaotic energy in him, that constant, breathless chase. I took a slow, deliberate sip of the dark wine, holding your gaze precisely over the rim of the glass, actively refusing to look away or break the spell I was weaving. I didn't elaborate further. I didn't need to add another detail. I had dropped the initial stone into the still water, and I didn't need to help the ripple of anxiety spread across your perfectly composed face. I felt the sudden, palpable, immediate change at the table, a seismic internal shift from comfortable, shared warmth to a cold, razor-sharp, competitive chill that seemed to suck the oxygen from the air. Your smile, which was so genuine and proud of your own achievement just moments ago, dissolved completely into something strained and rigid, a careful mask of polite indifference. Your shoulders pulled tight against your expensive jacket, the movement subtle, but to my practiced eye, absolutely unmistakable. You tried, valiantly and rather obviously, to play it off as nothing important. Oh, right, Christopher, the one in high-stakes finance, who supposedly moved to Monaco to avoid taxes, right? I think I vaguely recall you mentioning him in passing. But the question was forced, flat, entirely lacking conviction, a desperate and transparent attempt to appear unconcerned, to appear like you were already intimately familiar with and utterly unbothered by this sudden, powerful rival from my past. You absolutely got it, I thought, feeling the immediate, intense surge of adrenaline and a sudden, blessed relief from my own deep, internal, pervasive anxiety. The feeling of absolute control was flooding back, a warm, necessary substance. The hook is perfectly, painfully set. The simple truth about Christopher is that he was utterly unremarkable once I was finished with him. He was useful for securing a certain high-end lifestyle for a year, a temporary shield against reality. But the whole thing ended quietly and boringly, mostly because I got tired of his incessant, childish neediness. He is an absolute ghost in my life now, rarely even a passing thought. But tonight, for the next 3 hours, he was suddenly elevated, in your mind, to the most important, charming, astonishingly successful, and romantically competent man who ever lived. Tonight, he was the perfectly polished, entirely unattainable yardstick you just instantly failed to measure up to, and the look of wounded pride in your eyes told me you knew it instantly and deeply. My ultimate goal isn't genuinely to reminisce about Christopher or any of my other previous conquests. My goal is to instantly weaponize Christopher, to use him to strategically create an immediate opponent, a phantom rival I can instantly summon from my past whenever your attention wavers or you start to get too comfortable in the relationship. Triangulation is the simple, surgical act of introducing a real, past, or totally imagined competitor into the center of our dynamic to manufacture insecurity. It is the cheapest, most effective, and most resource-efficient way I have of managing my gnawing, ever-present fear of being abandoned, or, worse, being found ordinary, mundane, insufficient, or easily replaceable. If I were to simply tell you, you are spending too much time on work, I feel neglected. It's just a simple critique of your behavior. You could argue with that, or you could correct it, which doesn't give me the adrenaline rush. It's too direct, too simple, too balanced. But if I strategically say, your focus reminds me of Christopher, who had that exact same drive, but was also always surprising me with last-minute tickets to Paris, because he somehow intuitively knew how to prioritize my emotional needs above his career. Now you don't hear a simple critique of your work schedule. You hear a loud, screaming alarm bell of rejection. You hear a mortal threat to your position in my life. You must do better. You must work harder, endlessly harder, to keep me satisfied and prevent my eyes from wandering. You are actively and visibly losing this silent fight. This isn't about partnership, not in the normal, stable, healthy sense of the word. It is purely about total control, and that control requires continuous, active, exhausting maintenance on your part. I need you to be perpetually slightly off balance, eternally chasing the approval and security that is always 2 steps ahead, just tantalizingly out of comfortable reach. That frantic, anxious energy you generate is the fuel, the essential lifeblood that sustains me and keeps me feeling powerful. After I dropped the bomb about Christopher, you stopped talking about your work project entirely, halting mid-sentence as if the thought had vaporized. It was a beautiful, immediate submission. You spent the rest of dinner asking me probing, increasingly anxious questions about what Christopher was really like in the bedroom, why we really ended things, and if I ever still talked to him, which, of course, I instantly denied with a perfect expression of shock, a carefully constructed lie within a strategic lie. You started actively performing for me, offering to pay for the extremely expensive entire tab without being asked, making a constant stream of extra flirty, slightly desperate jokes, leaning continuously across the table, desperately trying to erase the phantom rival with your overwhelming, focused, anxious presence and devotion. That's the high I live for, that warm, vital wave of panicked attention, that sudden anxiety I deliberately provoked and that only I, can now manage, soothe, and command with a single word or look. When you're busy comparing yourself to a rival you can't even truly see or touch, you stop noticing the glaring, obvious, fundamental flaws in the prize you are desperately fighting for. You stop seeing that I was almost an hour late tonight with no apology, that I've been utterly moody, distant, and unavailable all week, or that I haven't made a single concrete, realistic plan for our actual future. You are just fighting frantically, mindlessly for your rightful place at my side. The emergency pivot. The truth is, while I appear magnetic and self-assured to the outside world, I'm constantly managing a massive, cavernous internal deficit, a gaping psychological wound of chronic emptiness. I feel like a stunning, beautiful, yet utterly hollow structure, a gorgeous mansion with absolutely no foundation, always seconds from total, humiliating collapse. To survive, to keep the lights on, I need a continuous, active, high-volume stream of vital fuel, what the clinicians call narcissistic supply, to fill that void. I can't reliably get that intense fuel just by being kind or stable or reliably present. Niceness is passive. It is utterly boring, and it produces a slow, unpredictable, unsatisfying drip feed of attention. I get it by being the unpredictable, compelling, indispensable source of your intense emotional rollercoaster ride. And the way I keep you frantically strapped into that wild, addictive ride is through a potent, immediate, and utterly effective tactic called future faking. As we were walking back to the car, the silence was tense, crackling with unresolved anxiety. You couldn't let the Christopher comment go, not fully. You asked, your voice small, trembling slightly with vulnerability, "Are we actually good? Sometimes I really worry about us, about where this is realistically going, what your true long-term intentions are for us." The question was a massive threat, directly calling my commitment and my future plans into question, and it demanded an immediate, powerful distraction. I stopped right there on the busy sidewalk, abandoning the rush to the car. I took both of your hands, held them tightly, looked deep, almost painfully deep, into your worried, beautiful eyes, and delivered the masterpiece of deflection, the ultimate countermove to a demand for present accountability. Worry about this? I laughed, gentle and disbelieving, letting a single, perfect, manufactured tear well up in the corner of my eye before I brushed it away with a practiced hand, drawing your focus to my vulnerability. Are you kidding me? You are the single most incredible, most necessary, most important person I have ever encountered in my entire life. Truly, my soulmate. I've never told anyone this before, not even Christopher, but I've been secretly looking at properties online for weeks, gathering floor plans and neighborhood data. Not apartment rentals, but buying a house, a permanent investment, a foundation. I see us in a sprawling, light-filled place with a massive kitchen for you to cook and create in, maybe a few blocks from the coast, a little bit away from all the city chaos and noise. I'm not playing games. I've moved past that. Not with you. We are building an empire together, a legacy, a dynasty. We are going to travel the entire world, perhaps even purchase a vintage yacht, rescue 3 or 4 more sweet companion animals, and in 5 short years, we are going to look back at all this small-time worrying and laugh at how silly it was. I love you, and I am here permanently. Every single word was a calculated, flawless fabrication, perfectly scripted for the moment. I am financially broke. The idea of permanent debt is terrifying. I find the coastal air depressing and corrosive to my skin, and the thought of commitment sends me into a dizzying panic attack that requires weeks of solitude to recover from. But every single word was surgically tailored, personalized to your deepest, unspoken, and most desperate wishes for stability and permanence. I have listened to your vulnerabilities during our intimate moments. I have memorized and mirrored your deepest dreams back to you as if they were my own guaranteed plans for our life together. That's the exact move, the perfect distraction. The instant you bring up a current present problem, like my coldness, my flirty comments, or my sudden emotional withdrawal, I pivot immediately to a massive, glorious, guaranteed future vision that eclipses all current reality. I present you with a beautiful, ornate, entirely worthless check drawn on funds that will never, ever clear in this lifetime. It is the buy now, pay never scheme. I give you a sweeping, emotional story about a promised land so vividly described that you stop paying critical attention to the barren, exhausting desert we are currently walking through together. It is a necessary, essential distraction from the present moment. You completely, utterly melted into me. Your eyes went soft and glassy, with immediate profound relief, the anxiety vanishing. You hugged me tight, saying you loved me more than anything, and that you knew I was genuinely serious about our future, that I was the one. The tension was gone, replaced instantly by profound gratitude toward me. I gave you a future fake to instantly and effectively distract you from the triangulation I had just successfully deployed. It's a perfect, efficient, psychological shell game. It instantly buys me crucial time, often 6 months or more, of unearned loyalty. It secures your attention, your continued obedience, and your precious emotional energy because you are now an ecstatic, committed investor in my glorious, non-existent vision. You are no longer a skeptical partner analyzing our problems. You are an excited shareholder in a psychological Ponzi scheme, and you will stay invested, waiting for the massive, life-changing payout until the whole flimsy structure inevitably collapses around you. I need you to wait, and because of the intensity of the vision, you will wait for me. The ultimate terror. He thinks he won the night. He believes he is completely safe, that he's secured his necessary fuel for the foreseeable future, that the anxiety he felt is permanently gone. He believes his beautiful, crafted mask is utterly impenetrable to your scrutiny, that you are blind to the mechanics of his strategy. But there is one specific thing that absolutely terrifies a narcissist more than being abandoned, and that is the terrifying, sudden, internal, nuclear explosion that cannot be controlled, contained, or hidden by any external facade. He has constructed his entire false self on two core, fragile, essential pillars: your unwavering, active adoration and the successful, flawless performance of his role as the great, successful, powerful, and unique man. When the inevitable happens, when his public lie is spectacularly exposed, when his carefully constructed house of cards finally, publicly, spectacularly falls, when a relationship ends for a reason he cannot possibly spin to his advantage, like being publicly dismissed from a prestigious, high-status job, or if a long-term partner leaves him for someone he instantly considers lesser and totally undeserving of him, he faces something infinitely worse than mere anger or sadness. He faces narcissistic mortification. It is an instant, total, internal collapse of the self that feels like the cessation of existence. The resulting shame is so profound, so devastatingly annihilating to the core of his being, that his psyche literally cannot process it or house the immense pain. He doesn't just get mad or sad. He feels genuinely like he is spiritually and mentally experiencing a total loss of life, a disintegration of the ego. He will suddenly appear visibly disoriented, dangerously paranoid, utterly disjointed, like a malfunctioning robot whose essential wiring has suddenly frayed and short-circuited. He may exhibit incoherent speech or seem completely detached from all observable reality, consumed entirely by the internal chaos and the blinding shame. And in that extreme, dangerous, destabilized state, he will do absolutely anything to immediately erase the witness, you, because you now hold the undeniable, terrifying proof of his profound, embarrassing failure and his inner, terrifying emptiness. The need to wipe the slate clean, to destroy the evidence, is overwhelming and overrides all normal social constraints. This is the single most dangerous moment you will ever face with him. His motivation shifts instantaneously from simple, strategic control to desperate primal survival through total instant erasure and destruction of anyone who saw the truth. The solution that saves you. If you want to dismantle the entire, exhausting, anxiety-inducing game he is running, if you want to be safe and reclaim your peace and your sanity, you must understand the fatal weakness of his core manipulative tactics, and you must act decisively in the present reality. How to defeat triangulation? You must ignore the rival entirely. When he brings up Christopher or any other person, real or imagined, you do not engage in the manufactured competition. You do not ask follow-up questions about the past relationship's details. You do not try to suddenly out-flirt, out-achieve, or outperform the phantom rival he created. Instead, you instantly and calmly focus the spotlight back onto him and his present observable actions within your relationship right now. You state a simple, factual observation about the relationship today. For example, that's lovely that Christopher was a part of your history, but right now you seem distracted by the past, and we were talking about our current issue with communication. Are you emotionally available to discuss this current issue now, or should we talk about it another time? This simple, persistent refusal to engage with the comparison starves the rival of all power and forces him into the present moment, which is the only place where his strategic lies and fantasy crumble and fail. How to defeat future faking. You must ruthlessly focus on the here and now, the mundane, unglamorous reality of the relationship. Do not invest your emotions or your crucial time based on verbal promises or fantastical funds that have not yet cleared your bank account. When he starts talking about that fictional house in Italy or the vintage yacht, you pivot instantly back to the reality of the situation. That is a beautiful, inspiring dream, and I truly hope we get there someday. But my immediate concern today is that you haven't done the dishes in a week, despite explicitly promising you would, and that is a real-world commitment we need to keep. Judge the relationship not by the magnificent promise story he is perpetually selling you, but by the smallest, most mundane, simplest promises he is keeping right now. Micro, test the relationship constantly. If he cannot call you when he says he will, or remember to pick up essential groceries, or keep the house clean, he is not building a stable empire with you. He is merely distracting you with fantasy and grand schemes, while you are left to do all the real, boring, necessary labor. How to handle mortification. If you ever, for any reason, witness a total collapse, if he goes into that zombie state of rage and profound shame, remove yourself immediately and safely from the location. Do not attempt to soothe or comfort him. Your pity registers to his broken psyche as crushing superiority and evidence of his failure, which will only instantly increase his shame and his destructive, explosive rage. Your physical and psychological safety is absolutely paramount and must be your priority. The only safe clinical advice at this dangerous stage is total, permanent distance and no contact. Detach your most important, cherished dreams from his involvement. Reclaim your aspirations entirely and make them your own independent goals, executed by you. If you want to buy a house, start saving into a completely separate, private, dedicated account that he knows absolutely nothing about. If you want to start a business, create a comprehensive plan you can execute all by yourself. Do not let your deepest, most vital desires be held hostage by a person whose only actual, consistent plan is to string you along until the next better source of fuel comes along. The only safe ground in this entire dynamic is the immediate, observable, undeniable reality of his current consistent behavior. This is how the game is played, and more importantly, this is precisely how the game is won, by recognizing the rules, refusing to play by them, and choosing reality over fantasy. Remember this absolute truth. He is counting on your competition and your desperate hope to keep you emotionally paralyzed and compliant. But you are inherently stronger than his illusion. The only way he can truly wound you is if you continue to believe his story more than you trust your own reality and your own gut instinct. Trust your gut. It's always telling you the precise truth. If this analysis helped you clearly see the truth of a dynamic you're experiencing in your life, please take a moment to hit the like button. Subscribing to this channel is your direct, essential defense against these tactics, ensuring you always have the actionable insight and warning you need to stay safe and informed. If you have a question about a specific tactic you've seen or experienced, leave it in the comments below. We are here, and you are never alone in this fight. Be strong, be safe, And above all else, choose your own powerful reality.